It started during a phone call with her grandson. Anna paused between sentences, not because she lost her train of thought, but because her throat felt tight. Her voice sounded raspier than usual. Weaker. She cleared it twice. He asked if I had a cold, she said later. But I felt fine. She didn't call back for a week. Voice changes after 70 happen slowly. You rarely notice the exact moment it shifts. One day it takes more breath to finish a sentence. Another day you hear yourself recorded and don't quite recognize the sound. It's lower than it used to be. Less vibrant. Sometimes strained. And while many people assume it's just age, part of the same process that whitens your hair or stiffens your knees, the voice holds more secrets than we realize. Your voice is muscle, breath, nerve, shape. It reflects hydration, posture, tension, even emotion. It's not just a tool for talking. It's how you greet, connect, joke, question, warn, soften, remember, sing. Some people notice their voice only when they try to use it in public, in church, at a dinner, during a family story. They start strong, but end weak. Their throat tires. They clear it constantly. And then comes the hesitation. Maybe I'll let someone else talk this time. The voice becomes quieter not just in volume, but in life. That's when it matters. Because while some voice changes are normal with aging, others are not. A sudden hoarseness. A persistent breathiness. A tremble that wasn't there before. These may be signs of something deeper and not necessarily related to age. Sometimes the voice is the first signal of a neurological condition, or reflux, or a tumor. Sometimes it's just dehydration, or posture, or silence too long. The challenge is knowing which it is. That's what this episode is about. We'll look at how the voice changes naturally and when to pay closer attention. We'll explore why some people stop speaking up and how that changes their confidence. We'll offer habits that strengthen and protect your voice and simple tools to bring it back to life. Because your voice is not just sound, it's presence. And it's worth keeping strong. Let's begin where most people first notice something's different, not in pain or panic, but in tone. Not all voice changes are a sign of illness. Some are simply part of the way the body ages, like slower steps, lighter sleep, or hands that take longer to warm up. The voice, too, slows down, softens, loses some of its edge. You may notice that your voice no longer fills a room the way it used to, or that after reading to a grandchild for 20 minutes, your throat feels dry. You try to speak with energy, but the sound doesn't carry. Not because you're not trying, but because the parts that once worked together in perfect harmony are no longer quite in sync. What changes exactly? Your vocal cords, or vocal folds, become thinner and less flexible with time. The muscles surrounding them lose tone. The joints in the larynx may stiffen. Breathing patterns become shallower. Mucosal lining dries out more quickly. The result? A voice that may sound weaker or breathier, lower or slightly hoarse, slower to warm up in the morning, more easily fatigued after longer speech. These are natural changes, especially when they happen gradually. Doctors call it presbyphonia, which simply means aging voice. It doesn't mean something is wrong. It means the system is older, and like any older system, it responds better with care and adjustment. Interestingly, voice aging looks a little different in men and women. In women, the voice often becomes deeper with age, as estrogen levels drop and tissues become less elastic. In men, the opposite may happen. The voice rises slightly in pitch as testosterone declines and muscle tone fades. But across genders, the common thread is the same. Less vocal endurance, less projection, more work for the same result. This is why conversations in noisy places feel harder. Why calling someone across the yard seems more tiring than before. Why long phone calls now come with breaks. Not because you run out of things to say, but because your voice gets tired. And yet, many of these changes can be softened, even reversed, with the right habits. Hydration helps tremendously. The vocal cords function best when moist and flexible, not dry or sticky. Good posture, especially neck and upper back alignment, allows your breath to move freely, supporting your sound. And staying vocally active matters. Just like leg muscles weaken with inactivity, vocal muscles respond to regular, thoughtful use. Some people benefit from short warm-up routines in the morning. gentle humming. Lip trills, soft, vibrating brrr sounds. Light reading aloud. Focused breathing through the nose and deep into the belly. None of this has to be performative. You're not training for a stage. You're keeping the instrument tuned because you still use it every day. Even just making time to speak, to talk out loud, to tell stories, to engage in real dialogue can be enough to maintain vocal health. Because silence, though peaceful, can also be a kind of erosion. Not immediately, not noticeably, but over weeks, over months, it changes the way your voice responds when you finally need it. This is what natural voice aging looks like. Gradual, manageable, not always pleasant, but rarely dangerous. In the next section, we'll look at when voice changes cross the line from normal to a signal that something else may be happening inside the body. There are voice changes that come gradually, and you grow into them. And then there are the others, the kind that don't feel like aging. They feel like interruption. You clear your throat once. Then again, you speak, and the sound is thinner than expected, or deeper, or it comes out with a tremble that wasn't there yesterday. Maybe you try again, but the sound breaks in the middle of the word. Not from emotion, from something else. The first instinct is often to wait. Wait and see if it goes away. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe you slept wrong. Maybe it's just dryness. But 2 weeks go by. Then 3. And the sound of your own voice still isn't right. That's when it's time to listen closely. Not all voice changes are benign. Some are early signs, quiet ones, of deeper conditions. The vocal cords, after all, don't work alone. They rely on nerves, muscles, blood flow, breath, and brain signals to function in harmony. When something disrupts that harmony, the voice will often be the first to report it. Among the most common red flags: a voice that suddenly becomes hoarse or breathy, a tremor or shakiness in pitch, a noticeable drop in volume that doesn't improve, vocal fatigue after just a few minutes of talking, repeated voice breaks during speech, difficulty swallowing or feeling of a lump in the throat pain when speaking, persistent cough not tied to a cold, unexplained weight loss alongside voice changes. Sometimes the cause is mechanical, a vocal fold polyp, a cyst, or chronic reflux that irritates the larynx. Other times, the issue lies in how the nerves signal the vocal cords. In conditions like Parkinson's disease, ALS, or early stroke, the voice may weaken, flatten, or tremble long before other symptoms show up. There are also structural risks. A persistent hoarse voice that doesn't respond to rest may, in rare cases, indicate a mass near the vocal folds, something pressing, growing, interfering. It's important to be clear. Most voice changes are harmless, but when they are sudden, persistent, or combined with other symptoms, they need medical attention. The first stop is usually an ENT doctor, ear, nose, and throat specialist. They may perform a laryngoscopy, a quick, minimally invasive procedure to look at your vocal cords. It sounds intimidating, but it's not painful, and it can bring clarity fast. In many cases, the solution is simple: medication for reflux, a referral to a speech-language pathologist, voice therapy, or sometimes just awareness and better care. But in other cases, acting early makes the difference between managing something and discovering it too late. There's a man named Harold, 74, who once led his community choir. He stepped back from singing because his voice began to waver and lose power. He chalked it up to age until he noticed a slight tremor in his hand. That tremor led him to a neurologist. That visit led to early detection of Parkinson's. Today, thanks to therapy and exercise, he still sings. Not like before, but with strength and without fear. Voice is one of the few functions that can whisper before the rest of the body speaks. Don't ignore it. Let it tell you when it needs help. Let it be heard by you and by the right people. There's a moment that doesn't show up in medical charts. It happens in kitchens, living rooms, church halls. A moment when someone wants to say something and doesn't. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they aren't sure how their voice will sound, or if anyone will hear it. Voice changes after 70 are rarely just physical. They affect how we participate, how we join in. They decide whether we speak up or stay silent, whether we say the thing we thought of or let it go. One of the first things many older adults stop doing is interrupting. They stop adding stories mid-conversation. They hesitate before laughing too loud, not because they're shy, but because the voice they hear in their own chest feels weaker than the one they remember. Some start avoiding the phone. Others let others order at restaurants. Some skip greetings in public, out of fear they won't be heard the first time. And when that happens day after day, it changes more than sound. It changes self-image. It narrows presence. It pulls a person slightly back from the room, even when their chair is at the table. Ask yourself, have you ever stopped talking not because you were done, but because your voice was? Many people who experience these shifts won't mention them. They adjust. They adapt. They find quieter ways to be present. But inside, it feels different. You say less. You wait longer. You hope others will carry the conversation so you don't have to push your breath. And slowly, that voice, once a source of charm or command or humor, becomes something to manage instead of something to use. There's research showing that loss of vocal confidence leads to social withdrawal. Not full isolation, just soft retreat. Less initiative, fewer spontaneous comments. A sense that one's voice, quite literally, no longer carries. And for people who live alone, this can be especially important. Because the voice is more than a tool. It's stimulation. It's feedback. It's a signal to the brain that you're here, that you're heard. One woman described how she stopped reading aloud to her grandson. Her voice cracked too often. She got embarrassed. So she passed the book to him and watched him grow into a reader without her sound in the story. Moments like these aren't tragic, but they're not minor either. Because once the voice fades from daily life, it becomes harder to bring it back. The body forgets how to support it. The brain stops rehearsing the rhythm of speech. And the person, slowly, stops saying what they once said easily. That's why this part matters. The medical risks are real, but so is the social cost of silence. The slow dimming of a presence that used to feel effortless. It's not about getting your voice back. It's about keeping your place in the room. Not all changes need to be accepted. Some can be managed, even improved, with care. The voice is one of those things. It responds to attention. It reacts to daily choices. It rewards consistency. And the first place to start is water. The vocal folds work best when they're well lubricated. Dry tissue makes vibration harder. It increases friction. And over time, that friction wears the edges. Not with pain. Not with injury. Just with slow, uneven strain. Plain water helps more than people realize. Not just in moments of dryness, but throughout the day in quiet, steady amounts. Tea, coffee, and soup don't count. Only water gives the hydration that tissue actually needs. Next is posture. Many older adults develop a forward head tilt or rounded shoulders, not from laziness, but from habit, arthritis, or years of reaching and reading. But that posture compresses breath. And breath is the foundation of voice. Without air, there's no sound. Without full breath support, the voice tires quickly, not because it's weak, but because it's working harder than it should. Daily awareness can help. Keep your chin level, not down. Sit with your feet flat, not twisted. Let your shoulders drop, not collapse. Take air from your belly, not your chest. Another underestimated tool is speaking aloud. Even 10 minutes a day makes a difference. It keeps the lips moving, the tongue flexible, the timing sharp, and it reminds the brain how speech flows, not just mentally, but physically. You don't need an audience. A newspaper works. A prayer. A list. A short story. What matters is giving the system its daily rhythm. Otherwise, like any other muscle group, it forgets how to respond. Breath exercises help too. Start by exhaling slowly on a gentle sound, like mm or ah. Keep it soft, not dramatic. The goal isn't volume, it's control. And then there's rest. People think keeping the voice strong means always using it. But rest matters just as much. If your voice tires, pause. Don't whisper. Don't push through. Let it settle. Small things help more than people expect. A warm drink before conversation. A humidifier near the bed at night. A break after long phone calls. Avoiding dry, dusty rooms. Not talking over noise. Wait for quiet, then speak clearly. For those who feel consistent strain, a voice therapist can offer specific strategies. Not medications, just habits. Simple ones, and often enough to bring strength back. The point isn't to sound younger. It's to sound like yourself, comfortably, reliably, without effort. Because the voice doesn't need to be powerful. It just needs to feel present. Small actions, repeated daily, shape the future of the voice more than most people realize. There's no single exercise that fixes a weak or tired voice. But a short series of gentle, thoughtful habits, done regularly, can make speaking feel easier again. More natural. Less like effort. More like it used to. Here's a starting point. 1. Begin each day with water. Before coffee. Before news. Before talking. A single glass of room temperature water signals your vocal system that the day has begun. It hydrates tissues before they're asked to perform. 2. Warm up without strain. A few soft humming sounds. A gentle mmm. A light read-aloud paragraph. You're not training for a performance. You're reminding the body how to coordinate breath, vibration, and shape. 3. Practice air awareness. Most people after 70 don't run out of words. They run out of breath. Breathe through your nose. Let your belly expand. Don't rush. If you feel like you're running out of air while talking, pause. Refill. Start again. 4. Avoid unnecessary silence. Not because silence is bad, but because muscles respond to use. If you live alone, speak out loud once a day. Read a sentence. Recite a memory. Say the weather. Give your voice something to do. 5. Protect your vocal environment. Dryer dries tissue. So do dusty rooms and certain medications. A humidifier by your bed helps more than it seems. So does keeping water nearby, not just when you're thirsty, but while you talk. 6. Know your limits. The voice gets tired like any other part of the body. It doesn't mean you're sick. It means it's time for a break. Choose quiet moments for conversation. Don't fight background noise. Let others come closer, instead of pushing your volume up. None of these habits demand energy you don't have. They don't involve pills, clinics, or equipment. They rely only on awareness and the willingness to value your voice as something worth caring for. Because it is. The voice doesn't just carry sound. It carries memory, intention, attention, warmth. It shapes how people hear us and how we hear ourselves. If your voice has changed, you're not alone. If you've pulled back from speaking because it feels harder, you're not the only one. But there is still time to rebuild strength. To speak with more ease or tell stories without strain. To ask questions without apology and say yes with full breath. There's one thing most people don't realize about the voice. It's one of the last places in the body where small improvements create a noticeable difference. You don't need to fix everything. You only need to start. Say one sentence aloud tomorrow morning. Drink that glass of water. Lift your chin a little higher. And if you've noticed changes in yourself and someone you care about, share them with us. What's been the hardest part about speaking lately? What helps you feel heard? We'd love to read your thoughts in the comments.